Jamaica, I am desperate. I am desperate.
Several Jamaicans have criticized Mrs. Holness, saying she should not be House Speaker as she's married to the Prime Minister.
Jamaica, I am desperate. I am desperate. I'm seeking you to come on board with me. I need the nation. Mighty God, I need help. I need help. I'm looking to you.
So when you reach out to the police, you contacted them yourself. No response from them?
I'm not, nothing. I'm not hearing anything. Nothing. I'm not hearing anything. Nothing to bring comfort. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. I'm wondering, where do we live? Is this Jamaica? This is not a good Jamaica for us. I worked so hard. Let me tell you something. I'm going to share my story with Jamaican because they need to know where I am coming from. I got pregnant at 16 years old. I have my 3 daughters who are like sisters. Stephanie, I suffered with Stephanie. I didn't have food to eat. I am not from Westmoreland, you know. But I went to Westmoreland with my friend. And while I was there and I got pregnant, I have no one. I have to do any type of work. Not meaning to go and sell myself because guess what? I grew up in church, so that is out of it. I'm not hearing nothing at all from her friends. From the team. Nothing at all. I don't even know who they are. I don't know them.
And they haven't reached out to you?
I don't know them. I'm begging you, nationwide, church is all over. Only you I have right now to stand in the gap with me. I am begging you, church, all over, to come. I need help. Poor Stephanie missing. And she called me. She said, Mom, pray for me. I said, Steph, you go and pray. Learn to pray for yourself now. I've been praying for you too long. But still, I'm going to pray for you. And I encourage her from my home to church. And I said, Steph, you need to pack your things and come down. Where's Stephanie living? There's a greater dwelling for her there. I said, come. Stephanie said, Mom, remember that we're going to go away the Tuesday. I buy a ticket for all of them to go on a family vacation. She said, Mom, I can't come. I can't come because I have goods to make. I don't refer Stephanie as a Medikk dancer. I refer Stephanie as a businesswoman. I don't grow up her into the dancer. I understand that is what she wants. But I don't refer to her as Medikk. She's Stephanie Williams.
Which was the 24th. She was in the bank and she was talking to me. And I was on another call. We spoke briefly, probably about 10, 11 minutes. And then I told her that I would call her back. But we'll probably send messages like we normally do in between time. And she texted me that day and she said, friend, I have something to tell you. And I text her back and I said, I can't wait to hear. I did not talk to her at all after 10 in the morning. And the last message she sent me was 3 o'clock. That was the last time I sent her something and she responded.
Newly installed Speaker of the House, Juliet Holness, says she's not concerned with those who've criticized her election to the high-ranking parliamentary position.
Once you put yourself up to serve, you're required to operate with a code of conduct that is in keeping with your own conviction as a representative. And when you're in the parliament, your personal relationship is not what is tantamount. It is your job and duty to the people of Jamaica. So I have no such concern. I have treated Prime Minister just the same as I would do to any other member of the House, because he is just another member of the House.
Several Jamaicans have criticized Mrs. Holness, saying she should not be House Speaker as she's married to the Prime Minister. Mrs. Holness, who previously served as a Deputy Speaker, replaces MP for South Trelawney Marissa Dalrymple Philibert. She is the third woman in Jamaica's history to serve in the seat. Mrs. Holness noted that she is making every effort to meet the mark of being an effective Speaker of the House.
My first 4 years, first term, I really spent a lot of time just sitting and listening, observing, reading, and training. I had a speaking Marissa Dalrymple Philibert who spent the time to go through. You do have significant support in terms of the staff. I spend my time going through the standing order, studying the standing order, querying to understand what I am wondering if I may be misunderstanding, making my links between the standing order and the Constitution of Jamaica, and it is just a job.
Juliet, Holness, House Speaker, she was speaking on Nationwide at 5 on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Mrs. Holness says the newly installed mic system will improve the order and conduct of parliamentary sittings.
One person should not be speaking when they shouldn't, and if you're not acknowledged by the speaker, you shouldn't be speaking. And if you don't have a point of order, you shouldn't be interrupting another person who is speaking. We have seen that happening in the parliament. It will be congratulated as a system that has brought more order to the parliament. And I believe persons on both sides of the House will come to love and appreciate that there is more order in the parliament.
The new speaker says the previous system allowed more than two persons to be able to speak at one time, leading to chaos.
The mic system is even better than the one we had before because 3 persons, 4 persons, 5 persons could turn on the mic at the same time. Very often you see the mic system conk out. It is because 2 or 3 or 4 persons turn on, and then we are taking hours trying to fix the mic, as you have seen in the past. This system is better in that it allows the first person who pressed the mic, when the speaker touches and acknowledges you to speak, it's the first person who pressed the mic who will have their mic activated.
Juliet Holness, Speaker of the House of Representatives. The government has set aside $1.7 billion for the staging of local government elections. That's according to the third supplementary estimates of expenditure tabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Shalois Michael tells us more.
No more delays. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark on Tuesday tabled the third supplementary estimates of expenditure, moving the budget up to just over $1.094 billion. That's an increase of $58 billion over the second supplementary estimates. As part of the allocation is funding for the now thrice postponed local government polls.
The net increase of $1.4 billion on the recurrent programs is therefore the end result of adjustments that include $1.7 billion allocated for the holding of local government elections within the fiscal year, $480 million to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, of which $400 million is for social housing and $80 million to support the trucking of water by the NWC to drought-stricken areas, $420 million to the Ministry of Local Government, of which $100 million for the cleanup of town centres, $200 million for community roads, $120 million for indigent housing, and $60 million for the trucking of water.
The polls are currently due by no later than February of next year. However, the allocation would suggest an earlier date. Also making up the bulk of the increased estimated expenditure is a $37 billion increase to fulfill implementation of Year 2 of the public sector compensation restructuring.
$345 million to the University Hospital, $395 million to the Caribbean Maritime University, $120 million to the Tourism Enhancement Fund, and $107 million to the Ministry of Health agencies. The net increase of $37.2 billion on compensation of employees reflects the allocation of $54.5 billion to this category to address the second year implementation of the compensation restructure and the provision of amounts to address arrears related to the first year of compensation.
Meanwhile, the government is projecting a $43 billion increase in revenues along with reallocations of existing sums to fund the expenditure.
Madam Speaker, the financing of the third supplementary estimates is programmed from a projected increase in revenues and grants by 43.1 billion, primarily consisting of an increase in tax revenues of 35.8 billion, non-tax revenues of 6.1 billion, and grants of $1 billion. Additional loan receipts will provide financing for the increases below the line.
Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.